On today's Star Wars Legends lore video, we compare the admirals of the Republic, Empire, Rebel Alliance, and Confederacy of Independent Systems. Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to another episode of Star Wars Factions Compared. Today we are looking at military leaders, and in particular, admirals. Which of the four main prequel and original trilogy factions had the best military leader? We'll find out today. We'll start by profiling each admiral individually, then at the end I'll rank them from worst to best. Let's get right into it with the Republic and Admiral Wullf Yularen. Now, Wullf's position as the greatest admiral within the Republic is, at the very least, questionable. Still, there aren't too many other options, and we do see a lot of Yularen within the Clone Wars. Yularen was the son of a Navy officer and joined the Republic at a young age, moving through the ranks very quickly and working in very difficult parts of the galaxy. Early on in his career, Yularen got his butt kicked by Trench at the Battle of Malastare, causing him to leave the Navy and join the Republic's intelligence arm. He did, however, at the request of Palpatine, return to the Navy during the Clone Wars and was given the position of Admiral. For much of the Clone Wars, Yularen worked very closely with Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Ahsoka Tano. He was thrust into some of the largest and most important battles of the war, finding success at Christophsis, against the Malevolence, the Battle of Bothawai, and countless others. He was, however, not without failure, an example of this being the Battle of Kamino, where he was tricked by the Confederacy of Independent Systems. Like with the Battle of Kothlas, Yularen was often left to command the fleet, while Anakin and Obi-Wan took the skies in starfighters. In that area, I think he did an admirable job, although his victories could often be attributed to the Jedi who not only worked with him, but also operated outside of his command. To that note, Yularen was often unable to follow Anakin's line of thinking, and the two often disagreed, as shown at the Battle of Deveron. Yularen failed to command obedience and arguably respect from many of the Jedi he worked with. A good example of this is at Ryloth, where Ahsoka totally disregards one of his orders, which ends up spelling disaster for the Republic fleet. Yularen was a very conservative, thoughtful, and thinking military leader, although I do think his skills were more well suited to working in intelligence. And it's not surprising that he ultimately chose to join the ISB, rather than the Imperial Navy. Still, it is hard to ignore the fact that he survived countless important events of the Clone Wars. Next up, we have the Empire and Grand Admiral Thrawn. Thrawn was an admiral for the Chiss Ascendancy, the creator of the Empire of the Hand, and one of only 12 Imperial Grand Admirals. Grand Admirals were one of the highest ranking leaders within the Empire, and after the Battle of Endor, the New Republic saw a single Grand Admiral as a major threat to galactic stability. Thrawn's greatest assets were an unnatural gift for battle tactics and a near savant level ability to analyze the enemy and identify their weaknesses. After mere hours with a piece of a species art, Thrawn would develop a unique, often never before seen battle plan which no one but himself would understand. Yet, because of his competence and the fact that he didn't often lose, Thrawn's subordinates were almost always willing to follow his commands, even if they appeared confusing or nonsensical. Thrawn understood not only battle tactics, but also high-level strategy, including how to both manage one's own resources and the resources and weaknesses of other parties. Pushed to the brink, Thrawn led a devastating campaign against the New Republic, single-handedly nearly restoring the Empire's rule. During the Thrawn campaign, Thrawn made almost no military errors, foresaw enemy attacks and movements, manipulated basically everyone, captured the Katana fleet, used the battle meditation of a cloned Dark Jedi, and captured large swaths of space. His unnatural and unparalleled ability struck fear into the hearts of those within the New Republic, and countless military leaders could be heard stating that they believed the Admiral was otherworldly. Thrawn's only mistake was an ironic misunderstanding of the Noghri, who betrayed him during a key moment of the Thrawn campaign. Mithra Naruto is one of the top 3 most intelligent beings in the Star Wars universe, in my opinion. The fact that he was one of the most prominent actors in a xenophobic empire tells us a whole lot. Next up, we have the Rebel Alliance and Admiral Ackbar. Ackbar's greatest achievement was leading a small, under-equipped navy against the full might of the Galactic Empire. This required an incredible amount of flexibility and military intelligence. The way he led the Rebel Alliance at Endor, for example, even after the firing of the Death Star super laser, is nothing short of incredible. Ackbar was a naturally talented tactician. However, we see in Legends that he doesn't necessarily enjoy positions of power. Perhaps for that reason, he is happy to listen to others and use the skills of his subordinates and colleagues, as we saw with Calrissian during the Battle of Endor. However, when he truly believes something, as he did during the Black Fleet crisis, he is willing to impose his ideas even when they run contrary to those of his allies or even superiors. After the fall of the Empire, Akbar acted as Supreme Commander for the New Republic, successfully facing off against innumerable threats and showing extreme levels of competency. He was such a good leader that after the Battle of Endor, Thrawn himself attempted to sow confusion within the New Republic to weaken Akbar's position. Finally, we have Admiral Trench and the Confederacy of Independent Systems. He tore our ships apart. We barely escaped with our lives, Wullf Yularen says about Trench and the Battle of Malastare. Trench was a talented separatist military leader known for striking fear against the Republic during the days of the Clone Wars. Trench specialized in space warfare, with successes at many key battles, notably successfully blockading Christophsis for a period of time. However, Trench's greatest asset is likely his ability to survive death. During his career, Trench reportedly died at battles over Malastare and Christophsis before finally being killed personally by Anakin Skywalker. Trench's greatest weakness, however, was his arrogance, paired with the fact that he consistently underestimated his enemies, including the Jedi, and especially the Republic. This arrogance directly led to his eventual failure at Christophsis. More than that, Trench is arguably over-aggressive and perhaps enjoys killing just a little bit too much. However, he does show a complete willingness to follow orders from his superiors. And really, his brutality and ruthlessness clearly served the CIS well, and he is held up by a tactical genius by those around him. Although he does fail against Anakin and his stealth ship, he does show a remarkable ability to adapt to a fairly difficult situation. Ultimately, however, much of what makes Trench supposedly great and his innate knowledge of tactics is shown off-screen. However, his competence is extremely clear. Wullf Yularen has a begrudging respect and even perhaps fear of him, and Trench seems to not only understand individual battle tactics, but also how to further the goals of the CIS as a whole. With a brief description of the 4 players out of the way, let's now rank these admirals from worst to best. Coming in at number 4 is Wullf Yularen. I've said before that I really don't think Yularen was the best mind of the Republic, but he's really the only one suitable for this episode. I think Yularen really doesn't have the same tactical mind for warfare as the other entries on this list. He doesn't have the same innate ability beyond that of an ordinary officer, which the other entries on this list do. Now, don't get me wrong, he's certainly competent and even a good admiral, but I think there's a reason that he left the Navy to join the ISB. At number 3, we have Trench. The problem with Admiral Trench is that we hear more about his abilities than we actually see on screen. Trench is held up as a tactical genius, and I'm sure that he is. Nonetheless, we see his arrogance pop up on several occasions, and as someone commented on one of my previous videos, he was fairly easily goofed by Anakin. It is pretty cool that he manages to survive so many situations, but the fact that he allows himself to supposedly die in the first place is a problem. At number 2, we have Admiral Akbar. Akbar was a phenomenal military leader. He was so skilled that despite not really wanting to be put in a position of power, he had to fight anyway. Arguably, Akbar's list of accomplishments is greater than even Thrawn himself, just due to the longevity of his career. He has a rough go in Legends. His homeworld of Mon Calamari is devastated during the Dark Empire campaign. Several attempts are made against his credibility. He's thrown in jail on a couple of occasions, but still, he perseveres and lives long enough to die of old age. Given the difficulties he's faced, that's incredibly impressive. However, in my mind, he still cannot compete with number 1, Grand Admiral Thrawn. I believe, as I said, that Thrawn is one of the 5 greatest minds in the Star Wars galaxy. Militarily, Thrawn is just on a completely different level. He's able to perceive the actions of his enemies, evading traps, manipulating people in ways that they don't expect, and alone with hardly any assets, he almost manages to re-establish the Empire. If you haven't read the Thrawn trilogy, I highly recommend it. The whole thing is basically him toying with the New Republic. But that's just my opinion. What do you think? Take a second right now, vote in the upper right hand corner, and let me know which admiral you think is best. Anyways, thanks guys for sticking around, I appreciate it. As always, if you like this video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching, this has been EckhartsLadder. May the Force be with you.